Well, hey there, welcome to intermediate guitar video number 5. In this video, we're going to take the shapes that we covered in that last video that was also the beginning of the advanced guitar stuff, those shapes. We're going to talk about a bit of those shapes, get into a little bit of arpeggio and how it relates to the key that you're in. As usual on this channel, I'll stick with G major because you got the old... It's just a good place to start. Most people know, like, if you're into metal and stuff, you rock E minor, G major quite a bit. So what we're going to look at is where does the major and minor shapes, where do they fall if you're, say, using just the top two strings, just a little baby arpeggio. Well, here, that's a D. Now, we could go into talking about the note names and all that stuff and how they land in G major. Just remember that, okay, we've learned it as a shape across the fretboard, right? So we know just by the shape that we've learned that those three notes exist in G major. These three notes also exist. That's an E minor arpeggio there. Now, you could choose to memorize it that way or just go by the shape. Again, once you've learned the scale across the fretboard, you kind of light up these spots that you can use. So then you take these predetermined shapes, major shape and a minor shape, and you go, okay, well, where does that land across the fretboard in accordance to what we've learned with the scale? And I'm going to show you that. Right there, you'll always have the major shape if you're doing like E minor, G major. Starting from the 5th fret on the B string, you'll have the minor shape. Now remember, the shapes we learned in the last video, we're just using chunks of that. We're using the top two strings off of those same shapes. 7th fret of the B string, you're gonna have your diminished shape. If you hit all three notes especially, unlike I just did. Now there, that's technically the 1 chord. That's a G. Start to make those kind of associations so you know where you're at. Now back here, if you're thinking E minor, that's your 1. You're diminished, right there. Major. Major's always in a major key followed by 2 minors. Remember back to when we talked about chords and where they land in a major key. You've got major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Same deal here. You're actually just starting from the 5 there. So if you think of it that way, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1. So now you're on to major, minor, minor, major. That's the 13th fret. Major again at the 15th fret, and you're just starting over what you did right there. So if you take the top two strings of those shapes and you're in G major or E minor, what I just showed you is always good. It's always on limits versus, off limits. You can think of it that way. And you can go wherever you want from there, and you can run through those however you want. If you want to. You can do that. Those shapes are now, on limits throughout G major, E minor. So this video is going to be pretty short. It's just what I wanted to talk about was taking those shapes and now you're going to apply them to a key that we should be on this channel very familiar with. And then, from there, like always, if you memorize how that stuff works, the succession of these things, well then if you were going, instead of G major, let's say A major, then everything just moves up 2 frets. Then you'd be starting with your major there, minor there, diminished here, now all we did was moved everything over 2 frets, and now we're in A major instead of G major or E minor, you know. Depends on how you look at it, you know. I always just think, even if I'm playing in E minor, I just try to remember, well, key signature wise, they're in the same, you're using the same notes. And then from there, you can get, you know, start thinking of it different, especially when you're using like harmonic minor, you're gonna have that raised seventh and stuff. But, and this might be a little bit too much theory for what we're doing on the guitar videos, but I always think of it more as the secondary chords and stuff versus trying to memorize like a whole new scale of harmonic minor and all that. And it's good to have both, and I don't want to get too far off what we're talking about. So that's all I'm going to say about that for the moment, but that's the deal. You take these shapes now and apply them to the key. And again, we'll start with the key of G, like I always do on this channel, just because it makes the most sense in a way for a guitar. You know, on a piano, you always start with the key of C, but we're not going to do that because we're guitarists and we're cooler. So anyhow, then from there, you know, that's the same note as there. So then it all just carries on. Your diminished lands there now. And then you're back there. I feel like I'm a little discombobulated on this video, but that's all I wanted to show you, was where the top 2 string, the little baby arpeggios, how they would land on, you know, G major, and also learn them on the other strings. You know, here's your diminished again. It happens there. Why? Because that's your F sharp. It would happen here. If you're brave enough to like try to sweep pick an open string, it happens way down there, and then from there you go. Back down to G. So learn all those little baby, once you learn the baby ones here, according to the shapes we covered in the last video, then start to figure out, oh, if you just drop an octave, okay, that's where it's at, and then it continues on from there. So, sorry this video, I kind of rambled a lot. I don't know what's going on with me. Hopefully I get better at it today. Wow. Anyhow, you're going to do awesome. You're doing awesome. I'm already going to assume you're doing awesome. And have a great day.